Good morning and welcome back to my channel. This is Sticks plus Twine. My name is Eric. I am in a completely different environment again from the last time that we spoke, that we hung out, that we chatted, that we had some fun. I've moved back to Toronto and I am now in my new place. And it's coming along really good. There's a few things to catch up on in terms of sort of life stuff, but nothing that can't wait till the end because I know you're here for the knitting. I'm here for the knitting too. So let's talk about what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about some current projects, some upcoming projects. We're going to talk about some additions to the family. No kids, boyfriends, none of that. No. We're talking yarn and bags and things. Want to talk about my new obsession, which is organized knitting. Stuff that just makes, finding and using your tools so much easier, something I've been kind of obsessed with lately. So we're going to just take it one step at a time. So let's get right into it. Let's start talking about sort of ongoing current projects that you may not have seen yet. So grab your beverage and let's go. So first thing we're going to talk about, as I reach over, is this pullover that I feel like it's a bit of a miracle pullover because the yarn has been from Portland, from Brooklyn Tweed to Toronto, back to Portland and back to Toronto, and then there was a little drama hiccup on the way, but it's fixed. It's all good. We're all good now. So when I was living in Mexico and Ranch 3 from Brooklyn Tweed was announced, which is their latest single source yarn, which is all merino, I kind of felt like I was inspired by the colors and just the environment being in Mexico, and I wanted something super colorful. It's totally out of my comfort zone, which, as you can tell, is tends to neutrals, blue, green. I am having a green moment. We're going to talk about that, as if you couldn't tell, I love green. Anyway, so I bought 7 different colors of Ranch 3 to make into this pullover, and for various reasons it literally got delivered early, which is great, but I was in quarantine and couldn't pick it up, so the post office sent it back to Brooklyn Tweed, who then very graciously sent it back to me so I could use it. And then one of the skeins was just, when you get one of those skeins that's just, for whatever reason, was just badly wound. I had one of those and I got frustrated, and I actually ordered 3 of the dark blue color, which is called Fathom, and only one of them was properly wound, and I didn't realize till it was too late. There was no more left, so I had no choice but to spend hours untangling, which is fine. I got it done. It's finished. So not the pullover, the winding part. So I'm going to show you the sweater now. This is the Sparrow, S-P-E-R-O pullover by Jared Flood for Brooklyn Tweed. It was part of the Ranch 3 collection. And, oops, sorry about that. There's needles everywhere, and I'll explain why in a moment. Here we go. It's going to be kind of big on me, but as I'm realizing, most things now are actually going to be kind of big until I figure stuff out. There are 7 colors in here, and if I look at my notes, if my iPad would stay turned on, the 7 colors that I chose were orange, is obviously orange, it's called Poppy. The yellow is called Auric. The purple is Pluot. Reef is this light blue color. Fathom is the deep blue, which is this one. Tindu is the blush pink. And Sorbet is this sort of raspberry color. So there's a whole bunch of colors, and you know what? There's 3 sets of needles attached to this because I decided, in doing the stripes in a really specific order and in a specific number of rows/rounds, I felt like I might avoid Sleeve Island if I did sort of body section and then each sleeve at the same time, so that by the time I was done, I'd have the whole thing finished. It's been working great up until I got stymied by needing this blue color to be wound and figured out. So I put it on hold pending that debacle being sorted, and it's now resolved. That said, It's a really good pattern. It's a fabulously written pattern, as it's Brooklyn Tweed. They're all really, really well done. I would have probably done things maybe a little bit different in the knitting. It's a color work pattern, but I switched it into stripes. Simple. But where I joined the colors, I could have chosen a better place to do that, but in weaving in the ends, every 4 sort of color changes or so, I'd go back and weave in the ends just so I wouldn't have to do them all at the end. Organized knitting, hashtag. I probably could have chosen a better place for that connecting line. It's not super obvious. I know it's there, and knitter will know it's there. No one else will care. So do I care? Not really. But that's a fun project. I will finish this one relatively soon. It'll be in sort of a light early fall wear that I really will want. So that one, it's living in my fringe town bag, my sort of all green one. And there's the culprit. That little ball of blue is what gave me all of this drama. But it's okay. It's there. It's done. And I don't regret it for a second. It's probably the most expensive sweater I will ever make, between the cost of the yarn, shipping it twice, etc., etc. But it'll be lovely. I really like that. So that's project number 1. Second project is living in my Sandy by the Lakeside leather camo bunny bag, which I have to say, this leather is exquisite. It is really, really nice. Probably one of the nicest leathers, and I love green and camo, as you can see. And you're gonna see more green in just a moment. Because I cast on, thanks to Sandy, the half and half wrap from Pearl Soho. She was inspired, I think, by Caddy Jack's knits as well. There it is. There she is. Just a little, what, 20 rows in. But y'all, these rows are long. It doesn't even fit all in frame. They're very, very long. This is a massive project. It takes 6 skeins of, I'm using the Pearl Soho linen quill for it, and it is basically one big long rectangle that gets color divided on the bias through short rows. Super easy, really good knit. I'm using wooden needles for it because this yarn has some alpaca in it. It's alpaca and linen as well as Highland wool, and it's a little slick on the needles, and I wanted something with just a little bit of grip, so I went with the wood needle. I also went up a size from the recommended because I do tend to knit a little bit tighter on wood. I think we all do. But I'm using my Indian Lake Artisans hexagonal needles, which are super comfortable, really, really sweet to use. So the 2 colors for this is going to be Fresh Pickle, which is this guy, and Juniper Green, which is this guy. And together it was a kit, like a package that was sold by Pearl Soho. They have, I think, 12 or 16 different colorways. So that's the colorway I chose. I'm hoping to have it done, maybe, I want to have it done this fall. They're doing a knit along on the Caddy Jack's site that Pearl Soho was talking about as well. And it's basically to have it done for Rhinebeck, which I will not be attending this year. Canadians still can't just drive across the border, so not going to happen. Never say never, but I kind of have other plans, so, you know, we'll see. But the reality is, this is going to be a fun knit. Highly recommend it. And this yarn, I'm not usually crazy about alpaca because it gets a little furry, like there's little bits. I wouldn't really do this with a black shirt on, but it's good. It's a really good one. Oh, it's not going to fit in there anyway. So that is also, sneaky me, one of my new additions to the family is the bunny bag. I know Sandy's got some of these in other colors as well, other camo colors, and I adore it. But wait, I have another bunny bag that I want to show you. This is another one of Sandy's. It's blue, y'all. Well, it's sort of tealy blue. Turquoise? Whatever, it's good. I love it. This one is holding my jelly roll blanket. Yes, because I don't have enough big projects on the go. But this one I love because it's so, like, modular and it's cute and it's just, you know, fly by the seat of your pants. Basically, you just knit this great big long stripe of color, and then you just keep adding on more stripes, and you do it as long or as little, as few as you want. Uses up a ton of minis. So what I did is I went through, there's different ways you can do it. Obviously, you can have, you know, randomized amounts of color. You can do it in a specific order, that sort of thing. It's a paid for pattern from the Bakery Bears, which I loved. The pattern's really well written. There's a tutorial to explain how to join the strips as you go. And I found that using GPNs for me on this worked really, really well. I'm using a metal one just because it's what I had in the right size. Wood one might have been better just to keep it from sliding out, because some of these yarns can be a bit slick. But currently I have all of my orange toned yarns in this bag with it. So I plan on having, I don't want to do rainbowy so much, but I kind of want to do a sort of a color order. I've been really inspired by the Home Edit, and they're all about rainbow organizations. That's kind of what I've been doing with it. So that one lives and will continue to live in this bunny bag. And yes, I have a third because obsessed. This one is just a really cute denim one. It's got a little leather tag on it that Sandy puts on with her logo. Sorry, the lighting is a little bit harsh. I thought it'd be a little bit better, but you know what? We're trying a new thing, so just go with me, okay? So I found that I was doing so much stockinette knitting for sweaters and, you know, just plain garter stitch, and I kind of, believe it or not, needed a palette cleanser brioche. I know, strange, but I needed a palette cleanser brioche. So I cast on just a small project. This is the Harlow hat from Andrea Mowry, Drea Renee Knits, and I had some leftover, that was really rude, I'm sorry, I won't do that again. I had some leftover yarns in colors that I just thought would work really well together, and because it's reversible, obviously, I wanted something that I would like both sides of. So the green is the, it's Julie Aslan Nomad in Olea, and the white / cream is Brooklyn Tweed Peary in Hammock. Fun, cute little knit. Honestly, no big whoop. I did the 2-color Italian tubular cast on, which is a lot easier than it sounds. Andrew's got a really, really great tutorial for it. So does Brooklyn Tweed, for that matter. And I think Brooklyn Tweed had a fun little, like really cute little trick at the end. If you've ever done it, you know, you're basically just twisting your stitches around each other, and it's, the last stitch can be a bit of a pain because it can kind of fall off, but there's a cute little twist on the end, literally a twist on the end, that makes everything work fine. So I made one boo-boo that I can see way, like 9 rows in. I can't really see it. I know it's there. It's very imperceptible, so I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to fix it. It's fine. It's just a hat. But that was a nice sort of palette cleanser, and I never ever thought I would be using brioche as a palette cleanser, but you know, as you get more seasoned as a knitter, it's easier to do these things. So that guy lives in that bag. Look at that, we're just flying along. I love this. All right, we're going to talk about some other new projects because, well, one is new and a couple of old projects, so let's get into those. There was a new pattern release last week by Max the Knitter for his Opus shawl, and it is living in my West Knits and Hohi & Co. collaboration shawl bag, which I love. If you follow me on Instagram, and you should if you don't, you'll see I got this actually when I was living in Mexico. I bought yarn originally with this, and I still have it. It lives in the cabinet right here to my right for the Canal Rings shawl by Stephen West. But y'all, there was a lot of twisted stitches in that, and I just didn't have it in me to figure it out. It's twisted stitches in Intarsia, with a lot of like basic stuff in between, but for some reason I just decided to put that in timeout. I'll do it more in the winter. It feels like a winter knit because it's all creams and blues and like various shades of blue, and I feel like that's a good winter knit. But in the meantime, I cast on the Opus shawl. Sorry, all my yarns are tangled now. Tiny little, chin strap of this shawl is started. It's exactly the same colors as the sample, so I'm not going to take you through the colors. There's gray, medium gray, goldenrod, I think, and I think the ink. Fun knit. It's mosaic knit, so it's got, obviously, floats in the back. Softest yarn ever. Really, really love the yarn. Wound up like a breeze. The funny thing is, I'm doing this on, it's a US 5 needle, but it needs a 60-inch cord, which a lot of people don't have in their sort of knitting toolkit. I happened to have one that I bought by mistake at Rhinebeck like 3-4 years ago, that has just sat in my needle case forever, but I happen to have it in time, so that one will be a fun knit too. Everything I'm sort of doing these larger projects for, I feel like I'm prognosticating that it's going to be a horribly cold winter because everything I'm making, it seems to be this big, woolly, cozy kind of keep me warm stuff. So that's definitely going to be this because this shawl is huge and I can't wait. So that lives in that bag for now. It will migrate into a much larger bag once the project is big enough for it. So there's that. I'm going to talk about, I have another couple of sweaters that I should show you. Last year I started on a Weekender Light, which I'm doing in Brooklyn Tweed Loft, and the body is done. Yay! I opted to do the contrasting color for the collar and sort of the yoke over the shoulders, which I'm thrilled with. So the marled color is Amaranth by Brooklyn Tweed, and Cinnabar is the red contrast. I know, totally out of my comfort zone, but why not? It'll be an actually really good holiday sweater if I can ever finish it, because she ain't got no sleeves yet. There's a theme that's evolving. Sleeve Island is a thing, but I don't even get to Sleeve Island. I decide, I don't even board the plane. I get off the jetty. That's just not going to happen. I will get to it, but yeah, it's something I need to work on, is my procrastinating on getting sleeves done, because also I have a Once in Floral sweater that's just off camera that is glowering at me because it's got 3/4 of one sleeve and needs the other. The rest of the body of the work is done. It just needs sleeves. So I'm going to suddenly just get in this fit of pique and just do like all the sleeves, or so I tell myself. And then I'll have like 5 sweaters to wear, which would be great. So that's happening. That's going to be another good fall knit. Lives in a porter bin because it's a pretty big project. But I want to talk about the one that I'm most excited about, which is in conjunction with Brooklyn Tweed. They're launching their new Tones line today, actually. So that reminds me, I've got to place my order, which is their new over-dyed worsted weight yarn that has a light base and a dark base that they dye with the same color. So I should be looking at the lens, not at the screen. That's the problem when I'm looking at myself on the screen to make sure I'm in frame. As I was saying, they have a light base and a dark base that they over dye with exactly the same color. So you have the possibility of having a light and a dark version of, say, your favorite yellow or green or whatever. I can't wait to get my hands on some. I was asked to do a preview knit of the sweater pattern that's releasing today called First Raglan Sweater. It's part of the BT for Brooklyn Tweed collection, which is their very straightforward, simple, easy to understand patterns. It's the first sweater released under that brand. And so I've been preview knitting that, and I have to tell you, it's a great pattern. It has something for everybody. I feel like Stefan from SNL. There's something for everybody. It has different sleeve lengths, it has different sleeve types. You can do sort of a bell sleeve or a tapered sleeve. It has different body construction that you can use. They show it in stripes as well as just solid colors. It's fantastic. It's a really, really good pattern. I think there's 9 or 10 different sizes at least, with instructions on how to modify things along the way. There's a companion piece that tells you precisely what to do. The cast on starts at the neck. It is a raglan, obviously, because it's called first raglan sweater, or pullover. I think it's sweater. And so I've been working on that. But a funny thing happened on the way. I screwed something up, and it's my fault entirely. I had a previous pullover, the Albion sweater. It was a Gansey by Michelle Wong for Brooklyn Tweed that I had been doing in exactly this yarn. This is the yarn. But after a pretty significant weight loss, I realized that the piece was going to be huge on me. It was literally 4 sizes too big. So I frogged it all back earlier this year. On a Saturday afternoon, I decided to pull the whole thing back and just go for it. And I have since then re-knit into this guy, which I haven't been able to share full pictures of because it's a preview knit, but today I'll be able to show better pictures because now the pattern is released. This is Storm Cloud Shelter, not Tones. Tones would not have arrived in time for me to use it for this knit, so I opted to use what I already had. I am currently about, let's call it a third done, maybe a sleeve. I would have been finished had I measured myself correctly. I went off an old assumption of my body size and proportions, knit the entire body, put it onto waist yarn before I decided to do the ribbing, and realized that, yet again, it is way too big. It literally had about 15 inches of positive ease around the waist, which is not optimal. So all that knitting that I did was for nothing. So I decided to rip it all back to the underarms, which I did, recalculate how I was going to taper down from one size to another, because obviously my chest proportion, my waist proportion are very different, and finished that, but I essentially knit 2 full bodies in the time that I had allotted myself to do the sleeves. I will finish it, guaranteed, because it is going to be a super cozy walk down by the lake kind of sweater, but it needs to be done. It is also living in one of my favorite porter bags as I'm trying to get the yarn out so I don't rip it, which is in green. Surprise. So I've got now, if we're keeping score, the Sparrow pullover, the Weekender Light, the first raglan, plus the Once in Floral. All 4 pullovers need sleeves. So I'm going to be on Sleeve Island for a while, y'all. Join me. Anyway, get your coffee. Let's do that. Ooh, speaking of. I think that's it for current knitting projects I want to talk about. I do want to talk a little bit about some upcoming projects because I want to do nothing but sweaters. I feel like I've got about 4 sweaters quantities at least. I've got a bunch that could be sweaters if I found the right pattern for them, and I think that I have. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take new measurements of my body, and I'm going to create my own schematic so that I know what size I actually am. The tape measure doesn't lie, but I think my interpretation of the tape measure, I lied to myself about how much ease I actually need and want. Having been a much larger person and now being a much smaller person, I'm still knitting as though I am a much bigger person. So I want to save the time and the yarn, but I also want clothes that fit and look good on me, as everybody does. So let's all just focus on, never mind what size you think you need, let's knit the size that we actually need, right? We'll just feel much better about it. At least I will. So let's talk about, one more project. This guy is living in a waxed camo field bag. The very long-time viewers of mine will know that about 5 years ago I cast on the Leaves of Grass shawl from Jared Flood for Brooklyn Tweed. And it sat in timeout for a very, 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 very long time. It wasn't even timeout, it wasn't even hibernation, it was suspended animation for various reasons. One, I realized I hated knitting lace. That has since changed because I figured out that two, I was using the wrong darn needles. Not for the terms of size, but the needle tips were blunt, which is not good for lace, didn't know that at the time. And also the join of the needle sucked. It's probably fine if you were using it for like a worsted weight or something thicker, but for fingering weight lace, bad idea. So I sat down one night, took all 546 stitches, transfer them onto another needle, and also a longer needle that gave me just a bit more play in it. And since then it's just been flying. So it's not going to look like much because it looks a bit like a knitted sack at the moment. Because of course the needle, I would need, probably about 120-inch needle for this to be actually stretched out. But I'll tell you, I have knit a good 3.5, maybe even 4 inches in the past couple of nights. It's just gone like bam, bam, bam. It's so much faster, so much easier. The other change that I made to it was that I took the bulb locking markers off and replaced them with these solid ring markers, which just slide and just flow so much faster. There's no interruption in the knitting. Whereas I found the bulb ones got stuck quite often, and because they're really fine, they would get in between the stitches and stitches that would get caught. So this has made my work much faster. I am not relishing the thought of doing, 546 times 2, so that's 1092 rows of knitted on edging once I get through the next 32 rounds of the second repeat of this last chart. But you know what, it's sat around for so long, why not, right? I really want this one. I don't know that I will wear it so much. Pie shawls are really, I find, hard to wear, but as a throw, or something to put on the bed or behind the couch, perfect. That's what this is behind me. It's the Halo shawl by Brooklyn Tweed as well, and that's what I use it for when I'm sort of, not in this room yet because I haven't been here when it's been really chilly, but just something to sort of throw over the legs, or something when you're just having a cozy night in. So that's what that's going to be. So yeah, this one has been taken out of suspended hibernation or suspended animation and moved into active whip status. I have about 12 other active whips at least, not counting socks. Socks don't count as whips. Those are that's just stuff you do when you're unless it's a pattern sock, and then that's okay, maybe that's a whip. But for me, a sock is not a whip. A sock is just like munching on crudité, right? It's just kind of something you do. Okay, so all that is there. Additions to the family. We're moving on, folks, we're moving on. So you've seen the bunny bags, which are amazing. I love them. I also picked up one of Sandy's small pouches in this sort of seafoam green color. What's living in here? I have hand cream, I have scissors, I have Fix-A-Stitch, I have a pen. I took something out because it normally lives in there, but I found, for me, and not everybody can afford to do this, and I get that, it's not a big deal, but for me, I'm constantly losing things like scissors and tape measures. So I've just taken to buying things in multiple now. These Clover tape measures are relatively inexpensive. I got these on Amazon. I bought 3 of them. So anything that needs measuring in a project just gets one in now. So one will go in there because I have an extra. I need one for the sweater, and I need one for the Harlow hat, believe it or not. So I took them out so I could show you, but highly recommend just buy multiples. You won't be hunting for it, you'll have it when you need it, leave it in the project bag. Okay guys, believe it or not, this is the third time now that I'm trying to record this. I ran out of time because my camera was overheating a little earlier today, so I tried to do it quickly. It turns out it was completely out of focus. So not kosher, not happening. So I knew I was going to re-record anyway. And then I got something else in today that I ordered on Amazon that I just can't wait to show you. That I'm looking at it right now, and honestly, I love it. This space is going to be my working office / studio. Through the pandemic, I gave up my actual office for my company because we didn't really need it. We couldn't go in anyway. So now this is going to be kind of the headquarters for it. But I also get to design and decorate it all around my knitting passion. So there's that. So anyway, that's happening. But then I forgot to connect the microphone. So the sound quality was not going to be acceptable. So here we are, round 3. Let's try this again. We are going to talk about additions to the family. So no pets, no kids, no boyfriend, none of that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, of course, yarn and bags. Things we actually care about. No, I'm kidding. I am so kidding. Don't hate me. No comments below on that. Thank you very much. So let's talk about some yarns that we've acquired. I'm just going to reach over here because in the last, sorry about the scrape, in the last take, I threw these balls of yarn on the chair that's next to me, thinking I was done with them. Turns out not so much. So, third time lucky. I picked up a couple of skeins earlier this summer from Scrumptious Pearl. This one being Oh Canada. It was right around Canada Day. That must have been why I did it. So that's July 1st for anybody that's not in Canada. And this colorway called Come Sail Away, which if you're a follower of Sandy by the Lakeside's podcast or YouTube channel, you'll have seen this before. I love it. I love this coral blue and sort of cool gray combination. And this one is just a riot of color. I don't quite get why it's Canadian, but I'm not going to question it. Don't question it. It's a riot of color. Maybe that's the point. Anyway, these are going to be great. These are just going to be socks for me. I am not sharing these. These are mine. Anyway, so there's that. And then my wonderful friend Annie, who is Annie Perrin based in Montreal, has been dyeing up colorways inspired by Taylor Swift's albums. And if you haven't checked it out, you really should. They're gorgeous. She just released the Folklore amazing collection of colors. But even so, the album is just ridiculously good. I watched the Long Pond Sessions on Disney Plus, where she talks about the creation of the album through the pandemic and what the songs mean, and so good. Watch it if you haven't. If you're not a Taylor Swift fan, oh well, I'm sorry for you, but I wasn't either. I'm no teeny bopper little teenage girl, and her music is not about that anymore. So if that's what you thought, that's not it. Anyway, the yarns that I bought from Annie are inspired by Taylor's 1989 album, and I just love them. I'll insert a picture here that sort of shows them more clearly. But we've got Style, and we've got Blank Space. I love this. I don't know what this is going to be, but I love it. Then we have Shake It Off. I really like this. It's got like little pops of purple in it, which is kind of like cool. And then these 3, which actually I think would be a really good fade almost. We have Wonderland, which is actually one of my favorite songs on the album. We have Wildest Dreams, and we have Welcome to New York. This actually feels very New York to me. So I think Annie did a great job. These are in her Hampton base, which is an 80-10-10 base. Definitely too good for socks. I might resort to doing a sockhead hat for Style, because I love a good sockhead hat. I've probably knit about 8 or 9 of them at some stage. I have quite a few of them here that I just adore. They're great, especially when you don't have hair and you just need something light to throw on your head because it's like a breezy night or something. That's perfect. So I got those, all 6. And then you saw the linen quill already. That's new to the family. The other thing that I wanted to talk about with additions to the family is more about something I've been participating in for quite a while, but totally forgotten about until one night I was just looking for something to watch. I was knitting on the half and half shawl, half and half wrap, and I was like, I need something, sorry, I have an itchy foot. I need something to watch that's knitting related, that's educational, and I've been purchasing the Knitstars program for a long time, but then I remembered I had Stephanie Pearl McPhee's Patreon, for which there's literally 18 months worth of video content of all about the best practices around knitting and swatching and purling, even short rows, yarn overs, you name it, it's there. I've started adopting quite a few of her techniques and best practices, and it's, I think, honestly made me a better knitter already. So if you haven't checked it out, highly, highly recommend it, especially in this age where we don't have access necessarily to the same kind of, you know, yarn festivals where we could go out and take a couple of classes here and there and pick some stuff up. So for me, it's been literally a masterclass in knitting, and I love it. So not a plug from Stephanie. I pay for it just like everybody else, but it's worth it. It's not very expensive, but it's the best money I spend every month, I swear. Especially for my knitting practice, let's say that. There's that, and then I can't remember if we talked about organized knitting or not. If we did, I'm not going to put it in, because we already talked about it, but if we didn't, I'm going to re-record it anyway, because why the hell not? Let's talk about organized knitting. Organized knitting for me is, y'all, I feel like it's going to be a harsh winter. I just feel it in my bones that it's going to be harsh. I am squirreling away stash. I've got more on the way. I just ordered more today. Today is the launch of Tones from Brooklyn Tweed that we talked about. Yes, I placed an order. Yes, it's a sweater's quantity. Yes, I'm thrilled to have it. I can't wait. I have a very interesting plan for that one, I think. But I also wanted my knitting to be, now that I have a space for everything and I can organize it the way that I want to, I wanted to make sure I could find what I need, find the tools for everything that I want in a really simple, organized way. So behind this cabinet here, I have just inexpensive boxes. I got mine at IKEA. You can get yours from anywhere. They're just paper. They're fiberboard, I guess. That I printed out nice little labels on, that I know instantly my big box of knitting notions where they are, my interchangeable needles where they are, my circular needles where they are, and that I kind of wanted to show you next. So, if you're watching on my Instagram, you will have seen that these, I'm hoping that's the right box, circular needles, yeah, that's right. I have put them all into individual labeled little plastic polybag envelopes with a card. This is 110 pound cardstock that is printed on my inkjet printer. Trimmed them to size, plopped them in, and now I know exactly where it is. I keep them in size order by length and by needle size. I have a stash of extras in here so that I can put them in. I also am keeping my needle gauges in here for the very simple reason, if I don't, I'm liable to lose them or have them stashed somewhere and I won't find them when I need them. But because I know they're here, then I always know they're in a needle box somewhere. I also have a pen that's in here, and I've got a little Post-it pad. Because I think what I'm going to start doing is, as I start using a needle, if I take it out of the envelope, I want to mark down what project I'm using it for. So if for some reason I've only got one 16-inch, 3mm needle, and I need it for a sleeve and something else, I'll know where it is. If it's in a hat project or a sleeve somewhere else, I'd be like, okay, I know where it is. But it also gives me a place to write down if I'm missing any needles, or if I'm planning a project and I want to get ahead of it, then I can do that. So that all lives in this box, which goes right next to a very similar box in which I store all of my interchangeable sets. So I haven't quite mastered and figured out how I'm going to label for those yet. I do have roll up things for them, and I've got, Twig and Horn made one that's really nice that's in a felt. I've got things to put them in. I just want to label them better, because I feel like if you label it, you know exactly where it is. I am obsessed with the home edit. You should see my pantry. It's ridiculous. I bought a Cricut just to do labeling for my OXO containers in my pantry. Someday, if you're interested in a home tour, I should be ready in about 2 weeks. I'm just waiting on one more piece of furniture to come for this room. If you're interested in a home tour, drop a little note below and maybe I'll take you on a quick tour of the house because it's pretty much done now. Yeah, so that's it for organized knitting in terms of boxes. I have two other things that I'm going to take a little bit of extra B-roll and I'll insert it here. But first I'm going to talk about this amazing jewelry container that I saw on my friend Caleb's latest episode. He is drowning in yarn. Amazing, amazing guy, but also amazing educational content. He's terrific. I noticed this little thing that he had sort of in the background of one of his shots, and it was from Yamazaki. It's a jewelry holder, but it's this little swivel container that has a place that he was using for like stitch markers, progress keepers, that sort of thing. So of course I asked him straight away, where did you get it from? And ordered one on Amazon for myself, and now I'm using it. And if you follow me on Instagram, which you should, you'll see that it's there and I'm using it now. It's perfect for when you just need to grab a couple. You always know where they are. That's the whole key behind organized knitting, guys, is finding your tools when you need them and having a place to put them back so that they're not strewn all over the place. Nothing drives me more bonkers than going, I know I have a tape measure somewhere, but where the heck is it? You know, that just drives me nuts. So, you know, a couple of rules, and maybe I'll just plop this in somewhere, but a couple of rules. Buy in multiples, because you never know how many you're going to need. Have your tools visible and easily marked so you can find them, and display them. Why not? And that brings me to the last thing that I want to show you that just arrived today. I'm so happy about this. It is a wall ladder, also from Amazon, from a company called Yamazaki. Took 2 days to arrive from the US. If you're in the US, it'll probably arrive same day or next day. And it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rungs on it. It's about 5 feet high and a bit against the wall. And I'm using it to display my shawls. Shawls are, let's face it, they're a pain in the ass. They're never like a wrap where you can just fold it. It's like a fitted sheet of knitting. Maybe that should be a hashtag. Shawls are the fitted sheet of knitting. You need them, you love them, you use them, but how the hell do you fold it? I actually do know how to fold one. Check out Martha Stewart. She's got a great tutorial on how to do it, if you don't know how. So I put some cowls on there, I put my shawls on there, my Vertices Unite, my Exploration Station. I've got, oh my gosh, I've got so many, and I've got more in storage that I kind of want to take out, but it makes a beautiful display of color and show off your work in a way that doesn't make it cluttered, doesn't roll off the shelf. You're not going, I want to wear something but I don't know what, it's there. So hopefully you enjoy looking at that too. I know I do. You know, your results may vary, and it should, because it's personal to you. So there's that. So that's my last piece of organized knitting for the day. So that's it, guys. We've talked about some ongoing projects. We've talked about things, you know, apparently I'm crappy at getting sleeves done, but I'm really good at organizing things. If you liked this episode, you know, do the whole thing. Click the thumbs up. I don't mind. I just did make this because I enjoy it, and hopefully you do too. Subscribe if you haven't already, because, hey, now that you know, I've got a place to do this, and I know my setup, I've got it working, hopefully. I hope to God this is in focus, because if it's not, I'm not doing this for a 4th time. But if you've enjoyed it, you know, let me know. Drop a note below if you'd like to see a home tour or anything like that. I'd be happy to do that when the time is right. I think next time we're going to talk about a little trip through the stash and what it is that I'm anticipating making, because, you know, as Stephanie Pearl McPhee says, we don't actually like the knitting, we like the next knitting. And that's really, really true. I've got some visions of what I want to make next. I've got the yarn for it, I have for a while, but I'd be curious to know what you're interested in knitting as well. So that's it for this time, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully I get this edited and out quickly. Wish me luck, y'all, because I want to do this a little bit more, and I missed you guys all. Thank you so much for your support. I know it's been a while, but you know that saying that you just, you know, you don't know the battles that other people are facing and fighting. And trust me, it's been a crazy time for everybody. I've had more than my share of challenges, but when you're a content creator and a maker, the pressure seems to build to deliver more, and I appreciate your patience and your love and your support, and I'm sending it right back all to you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.